Hi everybody. I thought we might take the time to talk about colours. You can choose any colour you like for your work, and it will depend on what fabrics you have or can find. I really do recommend the charity shops for, you know, snippets of fabrics or even clothing, old sheets, all kinds of things, laces, buttons. You'll find lots of things. I am looking at a central fabric here that I've picked out that has many different colours. A nice blend of colours, I would say. So then I have also gone through and found colours that I thought were, you know, similar. So that goes in. You can see what I mean. I've got some interesting fabrics. And I'm getting a bit of a leaf theme happening. So I dragged in some more. There it is. It's always good to have a few darker bits and some lighter bits. There we go. This one is an upholstery fabric. Some writing is nice. Already it's starting to develop a character of its own. You know, what about something that's a bit bright? As long as there's a bit in there, it would be okay. Talk about bright, let's have the silk. So things like that is what I would look at. I would look at a central fabric and then I would choose around it fabrics to match. This one's good, it's got the orange and it's got the greens, and it's a good blending one. More greens, more browns. So I've just collected a selection. This one I pulled out because it's actually got a bit of everything. So it's another good blend. I like this one. Now this one here is a really nice taffeta, and I like the way that it fringes. This is another thing. You can tear pieces, or you can, you know, take threads out to fringe the edge here. It makes a lovely edge. Some fabrics you have might be like that on one side, another upholstery fabric, and like that on the other, and you might think, I can use both, and you can. Now, because it's looking very organic, I decided to drag out some of this, and this is my experimentation in rust water eco dyeing, and I just love it. There's sort of leaf imprints and all sorts in there. Look at that lovely little fern, that might come in. So there's a little bit of that, and that's another one. So I'm going to probably end up leaving some of these frayed bits because they're quite textural and I like that. And some bits I'm going to see if they'll just, well, I'm going to need better scissors than that, rip, and they do. So that makes a nice not tidy, but a nice soft edge. Now I've speeded this bit up a little bit for you. You don't need to watch the whole thing, but it's showing you that you can choose, you know, different sections that you like of different fabrics. I've chosen some fern shapes that I particularly liked and cut just those bits out. You can fray the edges, you can tear them, you can do a lot of things like that. Leave some gaps. Remember to put in some neutrals. Think about where you might want things, you know, and just have a go playing around, changing things up a little bit. And is it a landscape? Is it a portrait? Is it going to cover a book? If it is, then in landscape shape, you would want the right hand side would end up being the cover. Think it through how you're going to want it to appear, and just move these shapes around and cut little bits out, separate them out so that you've got those lovely little green bits have gone in there. They're two little separate areas. Same if you've got some orange or some dark or some print. just split them up and see how it works out best for you. And when you have it how you want it, you're ready for the next stage. Here we go. Now what I've been doing is just putting a little dab of plain old glue stick. You can use proper fabric glue and you probably have more success, but I'm just wanting to show that you can just use this as a way to hold it a little bit whilst you're getting your first stitches down. Not too much because it will become stiff. Right, so there's some glue on there, but you may still want the odd pin. Try and pin it where you think it's going to go through a few different things at once. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but we do have a bit of pellin or light felt underneath, just to give it a little quilted effect, you know what I mean, so that you'll get your stitches will be puffed out a little bit. Now I've also taken the time to grab a few more things. We have some stranded threads. Once again, I've chosen colours that are similar. Maybe some orange, maybe bring in this teal, black, white, just to sort of think about that as we go, part of the creative process. I've also had a look at what different bits and bobs I've got lace-wise. So look at all this lovely old tatting lace. You'll get these in doilies and things from the charity shops, and they can look really, really effective, you know, just over top. There's a piece of this I thought would be fabulous, bridging the gap between some of the squares. Some more of that tattered lace. Very nice. But you'll find buttons and laces, and even this here is a novelty yarn. But, you know, how luscious is it? It's beautiful with it. And, you know, you could use it to couch on, or, yeah, just have it as a square in itself, or to border something, or do a stripe, or, you know, I just grabbed it because it was a lovely colour with them all. And buttons, of course. I do have this little packet of wonderful wooden butterfly buttons, and I thought perhaps, it's coming out, oh good, I would, you know, choose something that would match in with that. So probably not the pink ones. Maybe this lovely green one with the orange. Don't know, it'll depend. But it's there to just be thinking about whilst you're doing your stitching and getting creative. Here's another one of those, it's green. Right, I think we're ready to thread a needle and start with just tacking down the first few stitches, just to help it all stay together so that you can pick it up and it won't all fall off. And you can feel free then to stitch to your heart's content. I'm just going to take a single strand, stranded cottons. I have 6 strands, and you can use anywhere between 1 to 6. If you've got a needle that will fit 6, 1 or 2 is quite alright, unless you're wanting a really, really thick line. But this is okay. Well, this is my mother's knot. I learnt from my mother. I go around, I twist, and I pull to the end, and that's it. It ends up a bit messy, but it works. Right. And then what I would do is I would just start somewhere. These tacking stitches can come out, or you can keep it. It's a simple in and out, like you learnt probably at school. I'm holding it down on the table for now whilst I get these first in. I don't want to lift it up and lose all my pieces, and that's the idea, is to just hold it. So I might do some there. I might decide to go up this way. Even if it's held on one side, it's better than not being held at all. We just want to be allowing ourselves to move. Don't be too worried about it. I quite like to leave the stitches because it shows part of the work, but that's up to you. So just zigzag through and, you know, put the odd stitch here where you think it needs to be. Maybe I'll go down this way now to try and catch in that lot. And when you feel you can just done enough to like make it hold, and you can lift it up, that's not too bad even with just the dab of glue, but I do like a few stitches to try and see, give it that little bit extra strength. All right, it's looking good. There we are. So I think I'm just going to start up the top here, and we're going to concentrate at the moment on just a simple straight stitch. A straight stitch is what I did with the tacking stitch. You know, it's up and then back down into the fabric, like that. When you've got two strands, sometimes they can come a bit uneven, so just pull them so that they're the same length in there. Now you can go in and out like that. We're going to concentrate on a line at the moment, so if you like nice straight lines, you can use a fabric marker. I don't care about straight lines, so I don't. But you can do this, and this is like a running stitch. It's when you don't pull it through each time, but it runs through like that. And I'm just going to continue down into the next colour. And then I'm thinking I'll do the same back up again. I'm not going to be in line. I'm not going to worry that the stitches are all the same. Nothing like that. So feel free to just go where it takes you. What we're doing is we're holding the pieces down at the same time as we're making a decorative mark. Probably don't see it so well on that, so I'll take my thread underneath and I shall go over here where it's a bit darker so that you might see this thread against it. So bring it up somewhere else. Down into that, and I'm kind of blending that orange, now my threads come out of the needle, into the brown. Some of our marks will show up more than others, really. We're trying to add decoration and to attach the pieces. So this is where you can just flow. Slow stitching is all about not really caring that, you know, the fabrics are new or pretty, or that they are all cut in the same direction, or, you know, we can do the frayed, we can have it however we want. And I just like to, what I call meander. I do a bit here, and I feel, oh yeah, that's pretty good. All right, I'm happy with that. Now the other one, I've gone a bit crooked here, but it's a good opportunity to show you that also what we can do is seed stitch. And seed stitch is not going in a sort of line, but anywhere. Little tiny stitches, like if you'd sprinkled seeds. And yeah, just bring it up, take it back down somewhere that it is gonna be in an opposite kind of direction. You don't want them all flowing in the same direction, or it doesn't look right. And edges can be held down by doing that kind of thing as well. You see, we're just going like here, and I might go out that way, and I have held that edge down. Really, it really depends on what you would be making. If you would be making something that required, you know, washing and rough treatment, then you'd have to do more. But I'm only making a picture. It's only for my own enjoyment, and so I'm happy to just make pretty marks and hold it down like that. I think that's quite nice. In fact, I might take it up and hold down this edge as well. Yeah, so it is, the beauty of it is its randomness, that stitch, but it still is essentially the same stitch. So such a useful little thing, the straight stitch. I'm going to end off there because I'm just about, whoops, that's where that cotton went. It almost draws your eye from this one down through the design. So I'm going to fill in a few more now. I'm going to be just using straight stitches. That could be a running stitch or a cross or a little star that we just did, or the seed stitch. I'd like to show this is the same, it's like a ladder. I'm going to join these two, but I'm going to make it, instead of, I'm just going across the two rather than down the edge of it like I did on this one up here. So I'm just going to go across into it. And once again, very, very simple stitch, but so useful. If you wanted to do, you know, circles or arcs, or you could use something like a cup and draw around it with one of those fabulous fabric markers that are disappearing, and they stay just long enough for you to get your stitches in, and then it either disappears on its own, or you can use some water to get rid of the pen marks. Wait a minute, I'll end that off in a moment, but as you can see, I've used it. Straight lines, didn't really care. I've used it as a seed stitch in different directions. I've used it as little crosses, a star, and then more like a ladder, and then back into running stitch again to get that edge down. So that's what I like to do. I like to meander through and add stitches, and at the same time get it down. And once we've done that, or once we've done some of it, we start adding in all of our delicious bits and pieces that we might want to, at the same time as we're holding down an edge, we're tacking on something pretty. I quite like that there. We might just do that. So I'll just do a little bit more and we'll see how we go. So here we go again. I'm a little closer this time, I hope, and you can see a little better these little tiny stitches, or big, it's up to you. I'm doing it in a darker thread so that you can see it a little bit easier on the screen. Just in, out again, and where you feel. Quite pretty. So I'm just going to continue doing a little bit more. Might do a straight line up here with the running stitch. Whilst I'm there, I may as well go across the top. And maybe I'll blend it into this one a little bit with doing a little bit more of that seed stitch or the crosses, whatever takes our fancy at the time. I think it's quite attractive. I'm not going to worry too much about these excess threads. I can snip them or pull them out later. That's okay. Don't want to go too far in that direction, so I'm turning around to come back a little bit. Back into the green, maybe a little bit more down this way. At the same time as we're trying to tack those pieces down. I'm going to do them slightly bigger now. There we go. And maybe even a few little crosses. Just with the last of that thread, I'm just going to make sure, we really are the last of that thread. If it does pull too tight, just use your needle, the tip of your needle here to pull them back as they should be. One's a little bit bigger than the other. That's the problem. Right, and I just want to make sure I get that edge down. If it's not tidy, don't worry. You might want to put one of your butterflies or some lace or something on there later. In fact, don't worry about any of it. Just enjoy. Now we have a little gap here, so I'm just going to show you here what it is. I'm holding that thread out the way. I've come from underneath and I'm doing beside it and then underneath in the center of those two stitches, letting go of that thread, and it does that. Now you can just, put your anchor in there. I like to do a little tail because what I end up with looks very similar to so many things. I think it looks like little birds' feet in the in the sand beside the ocean. But you know, you can use this as plant life or seaweed, or you know, I really like it and use it quite a lot. So I'm hoping you're picking that up and you can see that. I'm just having another look here at this section where it shows up a little better, and this feather stitch, how we use it to make a little fern or leaf. So it's the same. We just start with a little one like that, maybe a smaller tail, and then underneath we do a second bit. And coming up on that tail there, and down again, etc. And because we're doing, well, or I'm doing something with a leaf shape, I think it works. But it also is just a beautiful mark. It's like adding your own little piece of lace. So I hope you're getting that. We'll continue now and just do your stitching, enjoy yourself, and we'll come back soon and we'll try a little bit of adding the final touches, the embellishments, and see where we end up. Right, around about now is when I would start thinking about what else I'm going to want to add in. I know I haven't sewn down some areas, but perhaps they'll be covered when I add something. I've got this really old piece of lace. I'm just going to see if it's any good color-wise. It is that kind of color, so I could possibly put it somewhere where I think it's going to do some good. I don't know where. But, you know, it's a possibility. And it adds that little bit of texture. And we had, well, there's a leaf, but I don't know whether it's the right color. It might just be too pale. Could be there, could be right, I don't know. It's all a matter of choice, isn't it? But if I did want to use it, I would be using it to it at the same time as I'm attaching things. I could get that in there, you know, so that I'm covering up a few of the edges and getting it sewn down at the same time. That could work. I had a nice piece of old lace here. And you can see through it, you see, so you could put a little bit. You could put a little bit wherever you wanted. Doesn't need to be that big. It's just to add that little accent, and I will be trying to get a few edges down at once there. So I could some of these nicer coloured butterflies that would help to match. You know, I would be looking for something that's a little, that it will stand out against and won't be lost. You know, that's quite nice. But plenty of choices. But just think about it as you go now, because you're hitting the final stages. Just thought you'd appreciate a little bit of a close-up view of what we've been doing. See, there's my pin ready to attach. I've got some bits there to get ready to go on. But some things have worked very well. You can see where I've used that fly stitch, the seed stitch. I've even used a little fern there to attach. That's got a little bit more work to go on there. But the whole thing is starting to marry together as a whole. Here we go. A little more, add it all the time. Got my butterflies on and my laces. And I think we're nearly done. I hope you like it, because I'm about to put the finishing touches on. Now have a look at this. This marvelous thing is my old button box. This is what I mean about the op shop being absolutely brilliant. Look at those green ones. I think they would be lovely. And a large selection of plain ones, some tiny ones. Yes, so this is my next and final stage. Now, if there's any edges that you've missed, or just things that you think might need a little bit of a brighten, grab some buttons or beads, whatever you have really. Look at these pretty buttons. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll have a little look at what kind of buttons I have that might fit in there. Got all of these plain ones and little tiny antique buttons. The op shop is divine for this. You know, those little tiny ones are great. You can put them in somewhere. A few of those scattered around. And then that will be complete. So let's take them off and we'll just pop a few in here and there. And I know at the moment it can look like a real hodgepodge, but it's one of those works of art, like any work of art. It's better if you take a step back. So do that. Take a step back and have a look at your work and be proud of yourself. Done very well. So there we are. We've finished. I do hope you have a go yourself. It is a lot of fun. It's really good meditational stitch therapy. And if you are interested in seeing more or doing more for yourself and would like to buy some kits, not this particular one, but there are many kits available on artfiberstitch.com. That's my website, or in my Etsy shop. The links are below. Please subscribe if you're interested.